So, Mark, we have some big news, some announcements for MTM Travel, some talking about devaluations with JAL, Bilt's new transfer partner, a big one, by the way, and much more coming up on this show. Are you excited?
Always. Let's do it. Changes in the air. Spring is here.
Yeah, spring is here, Mark, and great intro to this segment. And we're doing some changes. You know, this channel, for all the people who have been sort of following along with us, we've been a little all over the place here.
Yeah, we've been trying to figure out, how we want to do this and if it's better as two shows or one show. Sean wanted to talk about hanging TVs, all kinds of stuff.
Well, I mean, people got to know about the truth. We've always been a little bit of consumer advocate stuff, though. Talked about, leasing, all kinds of different things over the years, and I think that fits in nicely. But we are going to consolidate the two shows down into one and move the news back into this show. And then instead of doing a second show, we're going to do some more shorts with news stories. So you'll still get the podcast, all of the news, and then some shorts and some other content here on this channel. So we hope that you will stick with us. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, a lot going on YouTube and other platforms. So make sure to follow us over there.
Yeah, I mean, it's great if you get to see the stuff we drop into the show, videos from our trips or, our flights, all that stuff. And, Sean does a good job of making it fun to watch and giving you a little bit more detail of what we're talking about. And sometimes, it's perfectly fine listening as a podcast. And other times, like when we're doing a trip report or something, it's so much better when you can visualize what we're speaking about and everything. So I know a little bit's lost in translation, but it depends on the episode for sure.
Yeah, so we still do that. We're doing the Vegas show twice a week. So this show will continue to come out on Mondays and have all of the cool news plus the conversation, everything you guys have expected. And then throughout the week, you might see some short videos with some news stories and other travel related stuff from our trips, everything else we're doing. So we're going to do that for a while. The name is settled at MTM Travel. So yeah, hopefully we'll be good for a while. MTM Vegas, MTM Travel, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I think that works. And I mean, the 20-minute travel show was interesting. It was something, we wanted to give a try. We've done something similar with the Vegas. I just don't think it works as well in the miles and points space. It's just too much information condensed into a short time frame. So, this is better. We'll pick the two or three biggest news stories of the week, kind of hit that, and then we'll do more conversational stuff. The second half of the podcast, whether it's talking about planning travel or recent travel or just, whatever is going on in the world or in our world. So, kind of mixing a bit of the both shows together. Similar to what it used to be, I think.
Yeah, we want to keep it fun. That's important for us with doing this. And I think that that's something we should say because there are many podcasts in this space, even in Vegas space, whatever. We like to keep it fun. We have fun talking about this stuff. We like to do it in a lighthearted way, but we know this. We've been living this lifestyle of miles, points, travel for a very long time. So, that's what the sort of proposition here in listening to us is join people who've been doing this a long time, love the lifestyle, love to laugh about it, joke about it, and then learn some key stuff. So we're probably never going to break down every little thing for you, but I promise it'll be a lot more fun than that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's podcasts out there for that if that's what you're looking for, and I think those are useful. And it's just not the show we want to do that we would want to listen to. So we're the different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Yeah. So speaking of that, let's get right into the news, and then we will continue on with the show from there, starting with AA promos. This is actually very exciting. AA has these promos out you get bonus loyalty points depending on what tier you earn in this status year. I was not targeted for any of these, but these are some great deals. I can see a lot of people hitting this pretty hard.
Yeah, and it goes up to 75,000 loyalty points, which is huge. That's a big chunk that you can earn. You definitely have to do a lot of earning to get there. But the cool thing is credit card spend does count towards this. So you don't have to just be flying button seat miles. You can rack it up on your business card or your personal card or both. And those will snowball towards this. And if you hit these goals and you're getting the big bonus, you will, like as Sean said, basically get upgraded a status level, which makes it a bit easier to hit. And I've been Platinum Pro for the last year. We talked about how they tried to screw me out of that, but then came back and fixed it. I mean, it's beneficial. I like getting the extra legroom seat at booking. I haven't been upgraded to first at all yet. So I wish I would have gotten one of these so I could be executive platinum. Then I'd have at least a shot at it. But we weren't. Neither of our accounts were targeted for this. I think it's more aimed at people that haven't used AA a ton, maybe don't have status or had status a couple years ago, aren't doing it so much anymore. So it seems like more infrequent users are getting targeted. Try to get them into the realm of the American Airlines umbrella, so that they can start spending and doing what they need to do to earn it.
Yeah, I've gotten status with AA, I think 5 times now for free via various status matches over the years. So I imagine my account is flagged as somebody who they don't really care too much about. But it does suck that the good old days, they just used to give this away and now you got to jump through hoops. But if you are targeted for this, definitely take a look at it and see if it makes sense. And there's a great article, Travel on Points. Even if this is a great deal, do the math. Make sure that even, with the perks and stuff, it still might not work for everybody.
Yeah, if you're flying American 2 or 3 times a year, it's not, don't even pay attention to this. Just move on. Now, if you're like, I'm flying United, but I could fly American, it's about the same, all that stuff, and you can move all your stuff over, that's a different discussion. But yeah, crunch the numbers. I mean, how many people do we see like, oh, I got a trip to Hawaii. I need to earn globalist status for this 7-day trip. And it's like, that's going to be a lot of effort and money. Just book into a room with, lounge access if that's available, things like that. A lot of people just chase the FOMO. So you want to resist that and do the math and make the right decision based on your situation.
Just make some globalist friends, guest of honor, a lot easier than all of that. Bilt has added Southwest Airlines as a transfer partner. I feel like this would have been more exciting 3 months ago, 4 months ago, but here we are, 1-to-1 transfer partner, and they're offering a huge transfer bonus up to 100% on the first for rent day.
Yeah, it depends on what status level you have, and that's kind of the base that we've seen out of Bilt is top tier platinum status usually gets 100. It works its way down there, but even base status gets something if you've never earned any status level, which is cool. And at 100%, this is interesting because I think Southwest points now are worth like 1.2, 1.3 cents. So if you're doubling that, you're looking at 2.4, 2.6 cents. That's as good as it gets for most transfers. And yes, there's been better, maybe like Life Miles using partners when that was 100%. You could have gotten better, but this is you're going to get at least 2.4% with Southwest, which makes it tempting. Just don't fall into the trap. I hate when people are like, "Well, I have the companion pass, so it's worth even double that." No, no.
Let's save that debate for we could do a whole segment on that debate, because I feel like there is half the people in this hobby that feel that way. But I mean, it's hard to argue that this is a good deal if you have the status and you get the 100%. Obviously, it's a good thing for Bilt to have more transfer partners, and they've added a ton. And DDG is reporting that they may be adding one more, Japan Airlines, even though they haven't announced it. It's not anywhere, but I guess a sleuth was able to find it on their site showing 1-to-1 transfers, stuff like that. So maybe we have that to look forward to as well.
Yeah, we've seen this a couple times out of Bilt too, where they kind of flub the announcement or the change and it comes out early. And I think this is another one of those things where something got clicked and it shouldn't have been, and it was released early. And that was what's kind of funny about all this. Like they released, I think they changed something with you can pay your student loans or some bad redemption that you don't need to worry about with Bilt points. And then the next day it was an email about Southwest coming out, as a transfer partner. And then the day after that was, on rent day, we're going to get a promo, 100%, up to 100% transfer bonus. And all three of these, everybody was expecting Japan Airlines to be the email. So I'm sure they had some fun with that or laughed about it. I would guess that it's going to come out sometime later in May, and maybe that will be the transfer bonus for June 1st, hopefully. That would be, where I'm thinking where it's going. But yeah, Japan Airlines is something I've never really looked at. I don't know if you have, but there was no real way to get miles into there. You couldn't transfer it besides Marriott. But their award chart is pretty interesting. I know it's getting devalued in June, but I think this opens up some potential.
Yeah, it's interesting. We have all JAL stories today. I do think it's good to have the ability, and they often have last minute award space. We see a lot of decent deals via Alaska and American, One World Partners for JAL. But yeah, be able to book directly, it's not bad. They are devaluing their awards, as you said, and it's mostly first class. Business class has a slight devaluation, but they really hit first class awards with their own sort of chart. So we'll see how that sort of plays out. I'm not an expert in JAL's program either. I doubt most people out there are, but it seems like they heavily focused on first class awards with their changes.
Yeah, and I mean, who wants to fly first class? Then they bother you while you're trying to watch Rocky or whatever the hell you're watching and eating, and it's like, stop talking to me, just give me my food and leave. Or is that just me? I'm the only one that wants the anonymity of business class. I don't know, but I don't want anybody bothering me. And people love their business class, and yeah, American's been the way most people have booked it over the last few years. But even with the devaluation, I think it's going from like 50K for business up to 55K. The taxes and fees are a bit higher than you'll pay with American, but that is below what you see with others. So, it's definitely intriguing, especially if we get a transfer bonus. And if it is June 1st, then you have, a 10-day window to transfer and book what's available. And I think the award availability calendar might open up earlier too versus American or Alaska. So, a lot of perks of that.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense if Bilt did have this sort of in the chamber to hold it for next month, considering the Southwest and all the news. So we will see that. One last JAL story. You can also now book Japan Airlines via JetBlue, and there's some pretty decent deals on that. But you do have fuel surcharges, which kind of sucks compared to like American or Alaska, I believe. Neither charges that. But another option, and the prices aren't bad either.
Yeah, I think American, you'll come out a little bit ahead, but there aren't super great uses of JetBlue points domestically. It's not a huge value. They're pretty static point wise, valuation wise. Variable pricing depending on the cash rate. It's been nice that they've added flights to Europe, and then you've had some other partners that you can book too. So this is just like increasing the value of their miles and their program. And I don't know, are you still sitting on a ton from the old Amazon days?
Yeah, I still have a few 100,000. Man, I wish I had hit that harder. So for people who don't know, back in the day, you used to be able to earn, I think, 3x JetBlue points shopping through Amazon. And when they first started this promotion, you didn't have to be on a plane or anything. You could just use it like a shopping portal, basically. Go shop on Amazon. I had my reselling business, so I was able to rack up a lot of points there. Then they changed it where you could only earn the points while you were flying on JetBlue. So there were some times where I did some big orders from an airplane in order to earn more. And I haven't earned in many years. But yeah, I've been slowly drawing them down. I've flown
like
Mint a couple times, but in Vegas. I don't know what you said. I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. Say it again.
You're like the pudding guy. You're flying JetBlue just to make an Amazon order.
Just to earn points that I've had sitting there for 5, 6, 7 years. So it tells you how smart I am. But, in Vegas, there's not a lot of JetBlue flights. So I've used them to fly to Florida. Whenever I can, I do use them. But it's always nice to have this. And Japan Airlines, I go to Japan a lot. So this could certainly be a good use for the rest of them for me. I very glad I still have those, even though it's weird, right? Because on one argument, you could say, well, you earned all these points and you haven't used them. And, that's dumb. But on the other hand, I like having them, and I don't have any ability to earn them in that same way that I did back then. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, it's kind of like a throwaway point. One, you earned it on something you don't normally earn anything on, so that's cool. And then two, you don't really value them because you've had them forever. So if you can book to Japan and you're saving your transferable currencies, I think that's a pretty awesome use of it. And we see, I think I found a redemption from the West Coast to Japan for like 59,000. But, we don't have an award chart as of yet. We have some rough estimates from searches. The issue is it might be a bit glitchy. I don't even know that this has been announced by JetBlue yet. And there might be some space showing that we're not seeing on other partners. I haven't heard of anybody trying to book it and being phantom, but it seems like there might be some phantom award space. So definitely something to worry about. But if I had, a couple 100,000 in my account already, I'd be booking this for sure. I just wouldn't maybe transfer in, hoping that this works out. That kind of scares me. So something to be aware of. I mean, it makes the personal card and the business card, those bonuses look a bit better because you have this, you have Emirates, you have, they have their own flights to London and things like that. So it's a lot better program than it was, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I think it's the only U.S. airline, major airline I haven't flown. I flew Hawaiian, when we were in Hawaii to go it was only like a 40-minute flight from Maui to Honolulu, but got on Alaska a couple years ago. None of those are good through Detroit, coming out of Detroit. If I flew JetBlue to Vegas, let's say, I'd have to fly to Boston. Just never really made sense, and so I've never accrued any of their points or anything. So yeah, but it's getting more interesting to even me.
Yeah, I mean, this is all good. Expanded, I mean, other than the JAL devaluation, but expanded award availability, and the JAL's business class is pretty good. The new one, anyway. The old one is fairly narrow, so some people don't like it. I slept in the so-called coffin seat, which is a middle seat within the middle section,
Weird.
which a lot of people would not like. But because I had my family on both sides, it worked out really good. But it's a very narrow seat in their older business class, but great service, great country that you're flying to. So yeah, good to see all of this, and yeah, great to see JetBlue really, becoming a full, more traditional airline with partners, and not just, oh, I can get on a domestic flight. Because as you say, it's very limited still, very, very limited. I mean, they only have a couple of hub cities, and they're very spread across the country. Basically you have Southern California, and then you have Boston and JFK and Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, that's why I thought, like, when Alaska was talking about mergers and stuff, JetBlue and Alaska would have been a really good merger. I thought, East Coast and West Coast, and kind of combine the two things would have been a more useful airline together. And then I was hopeful that Spirit happened, because Spirit is big in Detroit, and then I'd finally get to fly JetBlue, I guess. How long would it take for them to redo all the planes and everything? But yeah, so all those fell through. JetBlue, yeah, at least they're looking for something to do, and coming up with other ways to make their program more valuable.
So moving out of the news, I did want to talk an update on my trip to Orlando, going to Epic Universe, specifically just the hotel situation. So no theme park talk here, but I had talked about how I was looking at the new Hyatt House over there near Universal. Category 2 on Prime is 9,500 points a night. And then I was just thinking, why not look at staying on Universal property? Because I would get a early entry. And I'm not talking the highest end, getting front of the line, all that. But if you stay in any of their hotels, you get early entry, which would be very valuable on my day at Epic Universe. So I went to that Chase Points promo from the Sapphire Reserve that we talked about, started looking, and I found a hotel, not even their cheapest hotel. What weird is some of the Universal hotels were on the points promo and some weren't. Like the new hotels that are right next to the new park, they weren't. But some of the ultra premium, which I'll talk about in a second, some of the ultra premium hotels were, and then some of the lower tier ones were, even though it's supposed to be a premium offer for some reason. So, keep that in mind. But I was able to find like a mid-tier property on Universal for like 21,000 points for 3 nights, which, if you're adding up the Hyatt cost, was even more in Beyond Properties. So I think I'm going to do that. And just a reminder, if you have that points promo, make sure you take a look at your options.
Yeah, that thing is like nut. I think I'd be burning all my ultimate rewards if I had the top tier. I know you were just below the top tier valuation when we were talking about that originally, but I would be burning everything I could, because you're going to get better than most of the time. Like, a lot of people transfer to Hyatt, you're going to get better value than you do out of Hyatt points for the most part. And then, for flights, it's still great. You still earn all those things. You earn your frequent flyer miles, you earn your elite credits, all that stuff. Now, hotels, less so, but this is a perfect use for it, because you don't care. You're not staying at a hotel that you want to use your perks of status or anything like that. So I would have a zero balance pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember and open my mind up for, the trips we're going to be in Europe and other things, and to kind of get beyond it. A lot of our travel pre Miles and Points, and even in my early days of Miles and Points, was a lot of guest houses, a lot of local properties, things like that to mix in before I got so good that I was able to do that. Maybe before I got so hoity-toity where I got spoiled being in hotels all the time. But I don't really care as much about that anymore. So if I can find like a cool local hotel, in certain areas in Europe. So I just, I'm very excited for this promo for the summer, and I was happy to see that. And I just have to remember to like keep going in there and checking. I do wish that there was some rhyme or reason to which properties. I'm going to Norfolk this weekend, and I was looking for a hotel for midweek for, landing at the airport, and almost none of the hotels were on there. So it's like, you wish that you could see that, but at least it's a good option. And in many markets, there's tons of options.
Do you have like the little toggle button? I know some people got that where you can put show only, uh, whatever points available hotel, or promotion available hotels or flights, and you can click that, and then it just shows that.
Yeah, it says it's called points offer, and then so when you're searching, you'll see the hotel that has the points offer. It'll say that. So if you see all of the hotels, and then there is a little toggle where you can say points offer only, and then in that case, you'll only see the one. So for example of Norfolk, it had a total of 2 hotels, like a Holiday Inn Express, which why is
Yeah.
that on the premium points offer? You know, and then another crappy motel too, and it's like, okay, so where's the rhyme or reason here? But you know, not going to fight with them on that, and yeah, I'm super excited to be doing Epic and staying on site. The other thing I wanted to talk about with that is the Portofino Bay. That's one of their top end deals. Just looking at next week, right, where you get front of the line passes, all that stuff. We've talked ad nauseum about it. It was only 33,000 ultimate rewards a night for that hotel next
That's
week. Now, I'm
crazy.
by myself, doesn't make sense. I'm not going
Yeah.
to be at the other parks where I would want to take advantage of it. But 33,000, had my family been there, oh my God, what a deal that is.
Yeah, because the fast passes alone for, let's say, 4 people in that room, it would have been $800 or even a bit more than that. I'm not sure. So you're, when you just factor in the value of that, not even the hotel room, just value of basically buying fast passes for 33,000 ultimate rewards points. That's pretty insane. I mean, I told everybody when we booked ours, it was like $900 cash. I booked it through the Platinum Amex Platinum travel stuff to get the $200 discount, so it dropped it down to 700. But I'm gonna have to go double check and see if the prices dropped some and rebook that. That was all a mess too. When I booked it originally, they messed it up and it wasn't a part of the travel deal, so I didn't have the $200 credit. So I went and rebooked it. Credit didn't come for like a week or two. And I'm like, what the heck is going on with this? Message them. They're like, oh, you didn't book Fine Hotels and Resorts. I'm like, yeah, I did. It's in your email. Like it says Fine Hotels and Resorts, and it tells me all the credits I'm going to get. The $100 property credit, all that stuff. So I had to go back and forth with them a couple times, and they're like, all right, we'll give you a credit. Never happened. So I had to reach out like a week later. They gave it to me. So I need to call the hotel just to make sure I actually have a reservation. I'm so worried about this now. It's such a mess. And then like the confirmation email I had had it as like 9:32 or 9:22, something like that. And then what my credit card bill showed was like 9:10. So I'm like, what is going on here? It's a whole mess. So I don't know. I might hopefully it's cheaper and I just need to cancel and rebook it all.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Keep an eye out. I mean, summer very soft in many tourist areas. And I'm not talking about theme parks specifically, but Disney discounting a lot. The fact that I saw Portofino Bay next week at $549, I think was the rate before taxes, which equated to the 33,000 ultimate rewards after taxes. That's far less than we've been seeing the last few months, meaning I think that we're starting to see prices come down. So I wouldn't be surprised if before you go, the price is lower. And I think people should be repricing any trip you have this summer, especially with cash, right? Reprice things because everywhere I go, and I'm, tuned into a few different circles. Obviously, we pay close attention to Vegas, but every sign says this is going to be a pretty soft summer for travel. So, I mean, we'll see how it all turns out, but at least be monitoring your bookings as you always should be, but especially now.
Yeah. Don't use the gardening word. I hate that.
Did I say gardening?
No,
I did?
That's what I'm
Okay,
just
good.
saying. No, you didn't. No, but people out there, please stop. I don't know why it drives me nuts, but it does. You don't have to. You can say it. I have no authority here to tell you not to or what. But it's just a joke. But I don't know why it drives me nuts. It does that and uplift. I hate those two terms so much.
I never thought much about it. I had gardening, gardening, raking, got to keep it all good. I got other things. I got a garden outside, so I'll leave my stuff. But that is important these days to do that. You don't want to lock in. And most airlines even are very flexible with your airfare depending on the airline and stuff. So even then you should be looking at airline prices and it's going to be a wild summer, a wild year, right? Like for travel, for the tourism industry this summer and, towards the end of the year, it's going to be, a lot of things will be figured out given all of the changes with tariffs and just the world in general. There's a lot of question marks here.
Yeah, and we've been waiting for a dip to happen for years now. I mean, coming out of COVID, it made sense. Revenge travel, all that stuff, and 2021 into 2022, we're like, okay, 2023 is going to be soft. Nope. 2024 is going to be soft. Nope. $800 flights to Florida and crap like that, and I'm like, maybe we're just gonna live in this fantasy world where people are okay spending $4,000 just to go to Florida for flights to Florida for a family. Like, this is insane. I don't know where the money's come from. Well, it racked up in debt, and now everybody's like, oh, maybe we should make better choices or whatever. We're seeing high credit card debt balances, all that stuff, and the housing market's still kind of out of whack. So I'm not surprised that it's soft, but I'm surprised it took this long.
Yeah, and a lot of the hotel industry is owned by private equity, a lot of debt on building all of these hotels and all of this. For people who don't really know, it's not like it was in the 50s or 60s where there was a motel keeper or hotel keeper, somebody owned the hotel and, they were running it and all of that. Almost all of hotels are owned by private equity now. And even to the point, and I've talked about this before, where the hotel companies see the owners, the private equity groups, as their customers, more so than they see you as their customers.
We're the product.
Yeah, we're the product. And it's true when they talk about it, they design their brands. You wonder why there's so many brands. Well, this is why, just for the expense on how they operate the hotel. So the brand standards to make sure it's not too expensive for operators, all of this sort of stuff. But a lot of these private equity groups are heavily leveraged as they've expanded and tourism has expanded. So, they're not going to be getting the rates that they were. And I mean, this is all a prediction too. Maybe, like you said, we all continue to live in La La Land.
It's got to be going that way, though. That's what we've seen, and I think it will be. And I'm sure they'll resist it, and they'll keep prices higher than they probably should be for a while, trying to capture what they can and hoping that people do last minute, like, oh crap, we don't have a trip booked for the summer, let's do it. But I do think it will be a lot softer than it has the last couple years and cheaper. And then, who knows, maybe next summer will be really cheap. Like, I miss the days of $300 flights to anywhere in the US that we saw in 2018, 2017, stuff like that, where you could fly almost anywhere for under $400.
I mean, I say this way too much. It's nuts. Like, just to think about since 2020, how things have changed, how sort of the deals have changed, and how everything has gotten more expensive. But I think on the flip side, a lot of people have enjoyed traveling, maybe who didn't as much before. And so it really has been, I guess, good in certain ways, but debt levels, I guess that's the best level. We can do all this travel and not go into debt because of the miles and points. And I think that that's a message that the wider group of people doesn't seem to get. I worry a lot less about the cash prices of hotels because I'm very rarely ever paying them. And yeah, I can make myself feel good. Oh, I got 4 cents per point at this Hyatt, which never happens anymore, by the way. It used to maybe once in a while, but you feel good about that, but it really doesn't matter. You're just using points, you're getting a hotel, it's all good. And when you do this long enough, you forget about the cash price. Like, especially, times where you're staying in a nicer hotel, it's $300 or $400 a night, and that you wouldn't pay that. I would just be staying in a lower tier hotel.
Yeah, and yeah, we've talked about the Motel 6 and stuff in Vegas, and that might be like what the $300 hotel used to cost is now a Motel 6 price back in the day. Because I remember going to Chicago years ago and paying like $80 for the Hyatt Regency on the river, and the parking fee was more than the room rate, and we always would make jokes like, this is crazy, like if you didn't drive to Chicago it'd be cheaper. And now you go there and everything's like $400, $500, $600, and it's just like, and I do think it's baked into the cost. We look at it like, oh, the price goes up, but the nice thing about a lot of hotel programs is they have award charts and they stay the same, but we see it in them moving all the hotels up levels. So the cost is still going up to us on the point side. It's worse with airlines because more and more airlines are tied to the actual cash price. So you feel that a bit more, as we got rid of award charts. And hotels do it in a more sneaky way. Like we talked about with the latest round of Hyatt category changes, they eliminated a whole bunch of category 1 hotels. And that's kind of the sneaky way, like, oh, you're still like, oh, it's 8,000 points for this cat too. That's a good deal. Well, it used to be 3,500 to 5,000, most days. So it used to be a really good deal.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking, I was just looking in Orlando, the Hyatt Regency Orlando International Airport is now up to a category 5. And then on peak, it's 23,000. It's crazy. There's no reason that hotel. I mean, but the cash prices, like you say, have been insane the last few years, just insane at that hotel. And so the prices have gone up. And that is, so it is affecting us. These cash prices that are higher than ever are affecting us because they are, when the programs are looking back, they are, deciding to raise the price because of the cash prices. I mean, look at the Andaz Papagayo. I think that's the craziest example from a category 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 now, or is it going to 8? I forget what it is. It's insane.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at it, it's really interesting. I know Lucky at 1 Mile at a Time just wrote about this, like what hotels actually get, and it's weird the game they play because hotels, if they're not busy, they don't get a ton. They get enough to cover their costs and the cleaning fee and all that stuff, like $50. An upgrade award to if you use that upgraded service, it's like $25 a night that they get for it. So that's why they sometimes fight back on giving you a suite and things, and they'll play games with stuff like that. Now, if the hotel is full, then they get basically rack rate. So that's when the points work out well. So the hotel wants you to book when the prices are lower, it's not super full. When it gets really expensive, and then, that's when we want to use points because it's almost booked and it's $1,000 a night, but it's, 20,000 points. That's when the program gets screwed a bit. So it's kind of like a give and take. They're like, we want this hotel to be half empty, but they play with the points price. It's just weird how the two track and the games they play between each other.
Yeah, it would be fascinating to talk to somebody about the accounting of all of that. Like, how do you figure out from a Hyatt perspective or from a program perspective how much it's going to cost you, for this hotel over, when I guess they have enough data to say, okay, there's this many last minute redemptions, this many early on. And I don't know, it's just a mix, but how do you figure out what it's going to cost you per point is fascinating. Clearly the programs have figured this out. I mean, they're not losing money. In fact, they're making tons of money on this, but also, they're helping the hotels because, as you say, they're filling those rooms, right? But as they fill those half empty rooms with points people, maybe the hotel's making a marginal amount on that, but they're able to get higher rates now because they're more full. And, then let's say, and then I guess as you fill up, then Hyatt has to pay, the full amount in the end. It's a fascinating thing if you've never noticed. And but most of the time, if you're in a hotel, I've had that happen once before where they put it on the bill. I think this was at a Marriott where it showed exactly what the hotel got, and it was like $45 or something like that. So that's very often the case.
That's why I wonder, like, what is it, the Olive or whatever? What is that Hyatt in Seattle called that always plays games with award availability? I wonder, and all the other hotels that do it, they probably do it. This would be the smart way to do it. Is it when it's not busy, make that like an executive king, even though it's a standard king, or play those games like third floor king, not base king, so that you can't use points. And then as soon as you get to where there's like 2 rooms left, you're like, oh, all right, let's release it as standard award because you're going to get the money anyway.
I got a presidential suite at that hotel once. Of course, it was as we always talk about, you get the presidential suites when you don't really need them. I landed at Seattle. I got there at like 11 o'clock at night. I had like a 11 a.m. flight back home. So I slept in the room, but it was an incredible suite. It was very much like an apartment. It felt very home, like, that hotel was kind of cool in that way. Didn't feel as much of a hotel, more like a fancy loft or something.
Yeah, that was similar to the Thompson in Chicago when we stayed there this past winter, and we used a suite upgrade award and got it, and it was like a 2-level suite with big windows, and the downstairs was a big dining table, a couch, a sectional sofa, and then upstairs was the full bathroom, the master bathroom, the master suite type of setup. So it just felt like a small apartment or a decent sized apartment in a big city, which was kind of cool and unique, and it gives you a different vibe than being crammed into a standard room, and you're just like, oh, let's go back out because I can't stand sitting in here anymore.
So I am headed off to the East Coast this week, and so I guess I'll be recording next week's show from Orlando, I imagine. So I'll be able to talk a little bit about the meetup and all of that. A little housekeeping. Joe and I are doing a new show in the Diamond Lounge, just a monthly show, Sean and Joe. So just about our nonsense and some Q&As and stuff. So that's fun. And Joe will be continuing to be on this show since we talked about the changes every once in a while, whenever it makes sense for his schedule. So that's not changing either. We look forward to having him on and, those old throwback shows whenever we can.
Yeah. And one more quick update about my Hilton credit fiascos or annoyance, or
Okay.
I'm just so over it. I went back to that hotel that was, the Curio Hotel right by our house. The one I tried to get stuff at the restaurant that didn't work. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go in there and just buy a gift card They're going to run my credit card on the Hilton machine. Going to work. It's going to be great. So I go there and the lady's like, okay. So they don't sell Hilton gift cards. They sell the brand or the hotel's name's gift card because it's Curio. It's not like a full on Hilton. I'm like, okay, but they're still going to swipe it at the point of sale, and I'm still going to use the credit card reader, all that stuff. And the first lady's like, I don't know how to do a gift card, even though they have a whole drawer full of gift cards. It's a newer hotel. Okay, whatever. The other person working the desk, I don't know how to do it either. So then the manager has to come over, and he's like, okay, scan the gift card with an iPad. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then he's like,
he's
okay.
like, he's reading like a help desk article.
Yeah. But then he to activate the card, he scans the back of the gift card. No swiping of the gift card. He scans it with like the camera on the tablet to activate. And then he takes my credit card and inputs the credit card info onto the tablet and then emails me the receipt. And well, they actually never emailed it to me. So who knows? I probably got scammed for $50, but, and then he hands me the gift card. I'm like, oh, you know what? This isn't going to work either because I didn't put it into the system. So just stay away from Curio hotels unless you're staying there. It's impossible. They're not going to work. That's what I've learned. I've done all the testing for you people. But yeah, I was just so pissed. It took like 15 minutes, this whole thing. And I was like, so I don't put my credit card in the machine at all? They're like, no, we sell that separate. And I'm guessing because they don't want that to go through Hilton or Hilton to get any cut or whatever the deal is. I don't know. But I'm like, this is so ridiculous. And I'm just pissed. So I'm, we're doing a meetup. Supposed to be staying at a Hyatt this weekend. There's a Hilton right next door. I might just switch to that because the points levels are about the same. And I have more Hilton than Hyatt points. And then I can build stuff back to the room, use another credit. I don't know. I'm so tired of these things. I hate them.
Yeah, I think you've done more public service than anybody else in scaring people away from this. Yeah, it's interesting. So it seems like they created some sort of online POS for the gift cards for whatever reason. I mean, gift cards are not a new thing.
Gift cards, not Hilton. Yeah. That would be my guess. They don't want it to go through the Hilton system.
So it's all nutty. Just avoid all of that. I think you got to just use the credits the way they're meant to be used. But even then, you've had problems with splitting payments. And so, yeah, there's no real simple solution other than prepare for some pain.
Stay at a lot of Hilton hotels and only use one card per stay. That's the easiest way to do it. I mean, if you go to the Waldorf Astoria in Maui, go down to the spa and just have them create a gift card. They know how to split tenor. They can do all that stuff. So that's like the best place if you have a stay going there, or if you're just in Maui, drive over there, go downstairs, go to the spa. They can take care of you. That is by far the best place I've run into for burning these things. They know the drill, and then you get it all in one gift card. It will actually work, unlike the ones that they sell online, which half don't work. But yeah, that's the best tip I can give so far.
So there's your hack. Fly to Maui, go into a spa, and you can use these credits as intended. I mean, what kind of great advice, amazing advice. So yeah, that's going to do it for this week's show. We'll be back next Monday with a new episode of MTM Travel. Look for our shorts, which are going to start very soon. And keep up with it. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Also follow us on other social channels at MTM Travel. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good week, everybody.